Why, aye, Darren. It's Earl Lux.
Are we on, Trev?
Earl. I can't do Danish, can you?
That is, by the way, are we on, Trev? Are we on? Hello everyone and welcome to this edition of Beer Sweden TV.
Multilingual.
Multilingual edition of, but you know we're multilingual here. That was, just so if you didn't get it, was an attempt, and I think that's probably the correct word there, from Beer Sweden, Trev, to speak both Geordie, Northern English, and Danish. I think we'll leave it at that. Today we are going to talk about a beer style which is actually not terribly sexy, I suppose, to be honest with you, in the beer world, but one that actually is the root of a lot of beer styles that you're drinking today, and that is brown ale. Now, brown ale is a style of beer that comes, as a lot of great beer styles do, I always talk about this, but it comes from the UK. And was very popular in the UK for some time. In the sort of 16th, 17th centuries, extremely popular to drink brown ale styles of beer. But then again, it became a little less sexy to do so, fell out of the market, and brown ales really became old and a bit fuddy-duddy and a bit dusty, and they lost their way a little bit. America, as it has done with a lot of other beer styles, IPAs being another one, took the style, reinvented it, brushed it off a little bit, and are producing, I think it's very common, you'll see, a lot of American craft brewers are producing a brown ale style these days. What we've got here in front of us today are two, one of which you'll see absolutely everywhere at the Systembolaget, the definitive brown ale for most Swedish beer drinkers, and that is this one, Newcastle Brown Ale. YA. Can you see that one? Now, this is a base listing at the Systembolaget, practically everywhere. So, well, it is everywhere. So, and I think a lot of people who are experimenting with craft beers will have come to that point via something like Newcastle Brown. It's a great crossover beer for me, I think, from sort of, you know, macro lagers to ales. The second one that we're going to try is Mikkeller and their Jackie Brown Ale, named after, by the way, I know you're a bit of a film buff, Trev, named after Jackie Brown, the Quentin Tarantino film of the same name. Okay, and what we're trying to do really is trying to show you, I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of brown ales, and we're going to try a traditional, shall we say, conventional brown ale, old world style, and we're going to try a more modern interpretation in the Mikkeller, which is a very American influenced brown ale. Got it, Trev?
Yes.
Right, okay, so the first one we're going to try is the Brune. It used to be called a Brune, or still called Brune, or Dog. Did you know that? It's called Dog in Newcastle, if you drink in Newcastle. No. Yeah, because people basically used to say that they were going to go and walk the dog. Walk the dog. And it used to become known as Dog, because basically it was a way of getting out of the house, you know, from your wife or your girlfriend. Can you see the colour of this? Now, it's called Newcastle Brown. It's got a very long and interesting history. The actual colour of it, to be honest with you, if you look at it, it's not really brown at all, Trev. It's actually got a lot of sort of reddish tinges to it. Newcastle Brown, first brewed in 1927. I've got a lot of information about Newcastle Brown up here, Trev. I have to get it out in the right order. Right. 1927 it was first brewed. It was first brewed at the Time Brewery, obviously, in Newcastle. Moved to the Gateshead Brewery rather controversially. So it actually wasn't brewed in Newcastle anymore. And last year we moved from the Federation Brewery in Gateshead to where it currently is now by the new owners, which are Heineken International. God bless you guys for screwing up yet another brand, well done. And they've moved it to Tadcaster, to the John Smith Brewery in Tadcaster. So it's actually now, let's be honest, called Newcastle Brown Ale, but it's brewed in Yorkshire, completely different thing. And that's really where my problem with Newcastle Brown has been in the past, to be honest with you. It's become more of a brand, less of a beer, I think, over the years. And it's one of those brands, and I'm trying to think of another one, like Bass, for instance, in the UK, that are very symbolic, I think, of British brewing. But the brand owners have taken them and they basically screwed them into the ground. It's a shame to see, and that to me is what's happened with Newcastle Brown. So I've got a bit of an issue with it. Got a bit of baggage, carrying a bit of baggage actually on this one, Trev. But that's not fair on the beer itself. So let's give it a whirl and see what we get here. Now, in terms of colour, as I said, you're getting that very sort of well, obviously mahogany, but those with a little bit of a red tinge to it. Now, in terms of aroma, there's two types of brown ales that you'll get in the UK, and it's really quite geographical. You've got the northern browns, and they tend to be, and this is obviously one of those, they tend to be quite nutty in character, slightly drier than the ones in the south, and a little bit more alcoholic. In the south, of course, the brown ales there tend to be a little bit sweeter, a little bit darker as well in colour, and a little less alcoholic. Normally about between high 3s to low 4% ABV. That's the difference. What's the derivation or the sort of origins of the brown? Well, this type of beer, to be honest with you, is actually the roots of a lot of the beers that we drink today, because of course when they were first invented, all beer was brown, because there was no technique to produce pale ale malts, which is basically the base of all beers that, well, pretty much all the beers that we're drinking today. So that brown colour and a smoky sort of quality was actually very prevalent in a lot of beers. So this was very, very common beer style. It was only when pale ale malts, which initially, when they were introduced, 16th, 17th centuries, became more and more popular, they were actually quite expensive, and they became this sort of working class thing that went with that. The fancy people like me, Trev, we would drink beers with pale ale malts in them, but they cost a little bit more. People like you, Trev, the workers, you know, the doers, they would continue drinking these sorts of beers. So that was the reason why. So listen, let's give this a smell. Lots of, as I say, a little bit of nut there, quite sweet, a little bit sugary, thin, not a huge amount of impact to the nose, a little bit of berry as well, and sort of slightly dark toffee to it. And definitely mosquitoes everywhere, Trev, and definitely getting that sort of nutty quality coming through on the flavour as well. It's a very easy drinking, low carbonated, smooth beer. It's not wow to me. It's solid. I'm giving it 2.5, Trev. I think 2.5 out of 5 is just about right. It's that kind of beer. Right, Mikkeller and their Jackie Brown. Well, Mikkeller, of course, Mikkeller have taken the brown ale style and they've done what Mikkeller normally do. They pick the style book up, they read it, put it back down.
Well, that's different, isn't it?
Very, very different. And then they throw the style book under the next bus. Okay. Now, brown ales shouldn't really have any significant hop character to them. Mikkeller are basically promising just that. They're adding 3 different types of American hops into them. We've got Nugget, we've got Centennial, and we have got, what's the other one, Trev?
I don't know.
Nugget, Centennial, and hang on a minute, I've got to cheat now. Nugget, Centennial, and Amarillo. Amarillo hops. Okay, 3 different types of hops. Now, of course, that's not really what you should have in a brown ale. You should not have a significant hop character, but of course, Mikkeller being Mikkeller, they're doing exactly that. We've got 6 different types of malts in here as well, and on the nose, you're getting that hop character straight away. Giving it a whirl, Trev. Look at the colour of this thing, by the way. Look at the head on this. Look at the comparison to the two. Can you see? You've got this incredibly tan sort of head to it. This is an aggressive beer, absolutely. This is a little bit more alcoholic. Here we've got 4.7, I think we're going up to 5.9, so it's at least another % in terms of ABV. Lots of hops. A strange sort of bitterness, to be honest with you. I'm expecting in my brown ales a lot of malt character. They're there. I mean, obviously there's roasted malts, there's chocolate, there's bitter chocolate, coffee, cold coffee, licorice, definitely a bit of licorice there, a bit of aniseed as well, I think, in there too. Quite spicy. I'm a bit at odds with this one, to be honest with you, because it's kind of like, I'm not a style police at all, but this is not one thing or the other. It's kind of, it doesn't quite do it for me, Trev. I'd like to say it does, but it doesn't quite do it for me. It's more interesting, absolutely, as a drink than the Newcastle Brown. I'm giving it 3, Trev. I'm going to give it 3. So on this occasion, Mikkeller pips Newcastle Brown. Drinkability-wise, though, I'm going to have to go with Newcastle Brown, but for interest, absolutely Mikkeller. Okay. Well, the next episode of Beer Sweden TV is going to be something else. I'm off to the Great British Beer Festival. You'll be hearing from me there. Until then, everyone, cheers and beers.